Hello, and thank you so much for coming back. Today is actually going to be a longer-ish video for no other reason than there's a lot to get through for this specific kind of video game that we're going to be talking about. So really quick, thank you to the patrons, the subscribers, and you, the lovely viewers, for showing up. Lord knows I couldn't do this without any of you. And this is just my playthrough. Let me rephrase that. I played through Bendy and the Dark Revival, but I didn't record it because, in all honesty, I wanted to enjoy it. So this is actually somebody else's gameplay that you're seeing on screen. I will link them in the description. Please go give them support, but this is specifically their gameplay, only because I needed gameplay for this, because I was not going to go back through all over again and replay the game. Like, I'm sorry I couldn't. So, I actually want to talk about the Bendy and the Ink Machine universe. Now, this is Bendy and the Dark Revival, which came out this year, last year, 2022. The original Bendy and the Ink Machine game came out circa 2017, and that was just the first 5 chapters that came out in 2017. And then more chapters preceded it. It's technically developed by the in-game universe Joey Drew Studios, which, you know what, is a nice touch. I can appreciate that. And the reason why I'm talking about Bendy and the Ink Machine franchise is twofold, is because it is a wild kind of a game. And I don't mean it's wild like, oh, it's really, really good. I mean it's wild as in it's a weird but effective way of storytelling. And what I mean by that is it's technically considered a survival game, because you, as the main protagonist, no matter which one you play, you have to survive being with all the ink monsters and in the ink studio and blah blah blah. It's really good writing as far as a survival mentality, is because you have to go through all of the story under the preconceived notion that, well, I got in through like a door, therefore in theory there has to be an exit, which I can appreciate. Where the backrooms bothers me is because there is no obvious entrance you got into, so there should not be an obvious exit you could get out of. This is different. There is an obvious entrance, which means in theory there's an obvious exit. Everything else that precedes getting out works. And the fact that there's some kind of ink demon shenaniganry, maybe supernatural-esque stuff that's happening while this is going on, is even better. Is because if it's just survival, being trapped in a studio and it's just survival-based, realistically, doesn't make sense. Trapped in a studio and there is magical MacGuffin ink monsters that are trying to for realsies kill you, yeah, no, that ups the ante quite a bit, and I can appreciate that. Also, I'm gonna apologize because I'm just now, like, realizing how stuffy my nose is. Allergies are a bitch, y'all. Realistically, they are. You should not get them. Ask your doctor if allergies are right for you. But yeah, this video game franchise series is weird, but it's not like a bad weird. What I mean when I say it's weird, I legitimately mean it's weird how effective this gameplay was, for 2 reasons. The first, Bendy and the Ink Machine spawned so many songs and spin-offs and like MMD like Vine recreations. So much spawned from the first Bendy and the Ink Machine. And it goes to show you is that it was a really effective way of storytelling, is because they gave you each chapter of the original Bendy and the Ink Machine game bit by bit, so people were speculating a lot on this. Bendy and the Dark Revival, this game just looked you dead in the face and was like, buckle up, buddy, because it's gonna be a long, fun ride. And as somebody who played this game, it is a long, fun ride. Also, the voice actors in this, top-notch. Gotta say, 10 out of 10. The voice acting is actually outstandingly immaculate, and I know that is not impressive as somebody who doesn't do voice acting, but as somebody who absolutely loves listening to voice actors and all their unique little ways they can spin stuff, I appreciate it a lot. The reason why I wanted to touch on the Bendy franchise, though, is because it is a very effective way of storytelling. Is no matter which Bendy and the Ink Machine game you play, you are constantly left in mystery mode, even if you find all the little, like, clues scattered around everywhere that'll tell you stuff. They're not clues that tell you more stuff, they're clues that actually spawn more questions. Which, for a mystery kind of a, what am I doing here and how does any of this help me? It works. It is such an effective method for writing. And I love the fact that technically all of the Bendy and the Ink Machine games technically take place in, like, not the modern era. So there's a lot of old-timey elements that go really well with it. Even though Bendy and the Dark Revival have your character Audrey in, like, a pair of pants, which I was like, I don't think women were allowed to wear pants circa 1940 whatever. But I also remembered one very important thing of storytelling. It's not important to the story unless you are really hyper-focusing on being accurate. In which case, you are allowed to just be like, it's not important, put her in pants. As somebody who likes wearing pants, I can appreciate that. Thank you, 10 out of 10. This is a fun game. Actually, this was a fun game no matter what I do. And my editor and longtime friend makes fun of me actually a lot for it. Is because he legitimately told me, he's like, I don't think you know how to critique things harshly. I was like, that's not true. I know how to critique things harshly, but I can also admit my personal opinion on things isn't supposed to sway people one way or another. It's just supposed to let people know where I personally stand on the subject matter. So on my subject matter of this, Bendy and the Ink Machine franchise as a whole, this is a fun game. Oh my god, it's so much fun. However, from a story perspective, what are we doing? And I don't mean that to be mean, but legitimately I was like, what are we doing? Like, in the first game, because it was such a big mystery that you had to build up to, it's understandable why it took so long to get there. But Bendy and the Dark Revival is one of those, okay, we kind of got everything we needed in the last game. Where is this going? This is like more supplementary material that is supposedly maybe happening like right before Bendy and the Ink Machine happens, which brings up a million other questions of like, wait. How long were you down there then as Audrey? Like, did time move differently? Because in the game, it legitimately tells you when you wake up as her after all the other stuff is happening. Obviously, not in, like, line with what I'm recording, but you fall down into the ink, and you get told point blank, it's been, like, 211 days since the ink demon monster mass stuff has been happening wherever you've landed. And at first I was like, it's been 211 days since I fell down here? Oh my god, I've been in a coma for almost a year. What happened? But no, that's not what happened. I just had a whole moment where I was like, oh my god, I've been sleeping beautied for quite a bit. But again, that was more of a, I misunderstood it the first time I played through it. But whatever. Mistakes happen. And mistakes happen. It's okay. But yeah, it's one of those, the first Bendy and the Ink Machine, we've gotten that story. We understand the mystery and all of that. This second game, as interesting as it is, I'm curious to see how it fits into the main original story, because I'm like, does this happen like right before, like I said before, right before we show up, or is something else going on that is absolutely, we need to be made aware of it? Because supposedly, right, because the game only takes about, what, 3-ish hours? It took me like 6, but I didn't play it all in one go. I think I played it for like an hour. I tapped out, hung out with friends, came back, played it for like 20 more minutes, went, took to bed, forgot about it for like 3 days, and then started right back up again, and then like played for another 20 minutes, forgot about it for a couple days, and then finished it. So when I say 6 hours, I don't mean like 6 hours in total, I mean 6 hours spread across like 2 weeks. So, but according to people that just hardcore play games, in about 3 hours, you can beat the entire Bendy and the Dark Revival. But again, I'm bringing this up is because I'm like, there's an ending, technically, to this game. But also, technically, what? Like, if this is just a entire spin-off of the original Bendy and the Ink Machine, cool, they did a really good job. But I feel like the people behind this, right, they don't operate like that. So I'm curious to see, because I don't keep up with video game news. I'm not one of the hardcore people who keeps up with it. I'm curious to see if there's more to the story, because if there is more to the story, that's wonderful, because I feel like we could get a lot more insight. Because in the original Bendy and the Ink Machine, you do meet Alice Angel, and I don't mean the crazy one that tried to kill you and was killing all the Boris clones. Not that one. The actual Alice Angel, Allison, the lady who did, I think, the voice work for her in the canonical in-universe show. You meet her again in this version as well, in Bendy and the Dark Revival. And while I was playing through everything, I know that people were, well, from what I've heard personally from my own friend group. So, when I say people, I don't mean like the internet as a whole. I mean my editor, his wife, their friends, my friends. So when I say people, I don't mean like a control group. I mean people I immediately know. I need to stress that. When I say people, unless I bring up a source, I don't mean like an accredited source. I mean like a personal source. The people I've talked to have said, yeah, we thought at first she was going to be like the surprise villain behind all of this. And I was thinking about it the more that I was writing the script for this. And the more I kept thinking about it, the more I realized I don't think it would be a bad thing if they did make Alice Angel, in this second part of this, assuming they do more, the surprise bad guy, is because it always seemed a little too convenient at the end of the original Bendy and the Ink Machine that she's just suddenly there with, like, buff Fallout Boris, and they know a lot of stuff and they don't want to tell you any of it. Okay, but why? Like, you've gone through stuff in the game. By the time they meet you, you've gone through stuff. So, at some point, it goes beyond just, like, being skeptical of if they can trust you, and more of it's coming across as, you guys are dicks that don't want to tell me anything, which is an entirely different, like, subject that we should get into, but we don't get into it. And I guess that is a way of writing. Like, if you're going to draw it out, if it's just a bit-by-bit episodic thing, that's good storytelling. But also, it's a good way of spawning people's think pieces, is because people will make up their own wild theories long before anything of any kind of substance happens. Which, again, that's not a bad thing. As far as writing goes, it's never a bad thing to begin your story like that, especially if it's a mystery story. You, the author, has to know where you're going, though, right? You have to know how this is gonna end. But if you're playing it bit by bit, like playing out different scenarios and everything, that's also a good way of story writing. But if you're gonna write mystery, you, the author, have to absolutely know how we get places. Even if the audience can sit there and shoehorn and bug the shit out of each other of how it's gonna go, you definitely need to know the answer. But, you know, that's just a writing thing. As far as it goes for the Bendy and the Ink Machine franchise, it's a really good mystery and survival game combo. And I'm really glad that we've got it, because it's spawned so much inspiration in other people. And I can't be mad at something that spawned so much inspiration in others. Like, I could, but to what end? Like, I think I'd rather just be look, I'm trying to do my best to be positive for this. So, can I talk about the negatives? Yes. I'll talk about the negatives really quick, and it probably won't even take me a minute. In the Bendy and the Dark Revival game, they do the noises like they do in BioShock when you have to go do tasks and everything. Also like BioShock, which was also part of the original Bendy and the Ink Machine, there's just random recordings lying around to help you get to your new destinations. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's my only negatives on this. For a minute, I was like, am I playing BioShock? It feels like it a little bit. And then I realized that's kind of mean on my part to do it, but that's realistically the only critiques I have. The you have to go do places thing sounds like BioShock, and there's just recordings like BioShock, which I could do a thing on BioShock, but I'm not going to. Long and short of this is, there's more positives to Bendy and the Ink Machine than there are negatives. I'm sure if I tried really, really, really hard to be kind of a bitch, I could find all the negatives in it. I could. But I'm not going to, because that's just infinitely more tiring and, like, poor for your health than anything else. So, overall, the thoughts on the Bendy and the Ink Machine franchise, it's not bad so much so as it is interesting, and I want to see where it's going. So this is probably the only thoughts on video that is going to have like a question mark at the end of it, for no other reason than I have to come back to it, because unless I get told 100% that Bendy and the Dark Revival, this is the only like bit of it they're going to do, or there's more chapters to come out, then I won't be able to finish my complete thoughts on it. So for right now, this is my thoughts on question mark Bendy and the Ink Machine franchise. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and thank you so much for coming by.